Does Texas have the best defense in college football? Well, according to one publication, the answer's not only yes, but it's a resounding yes. And we're talking about it on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You were locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We will get to the Mount Rushmore of the Steve Sarkisian era. We'll also talk about the latest portal pickup for Texas baseball a little bit later. But first, I had a flight from Austin to New York yesterday. And before heading to the airport, I stopped by the store looking for something to read on the plane. If you know me, you know I'm not reading any actual books. I was looking for a magazine, more specifically a college football preview magazine. And I stumbled upon Athlon Sports 2025 College Football Preview. Was the first one I saw on the stand, and it had Arch Manning on the cover. So a pretty easy choice for me to buy. And I started scrolling through, and I noticed that Athlon had ranked the position units around college football. They were giving their top 10 lists for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and so on and so forth. I looked at offense first, and we might talk about that side of the ball on a future episode. But then I looked at defense, and I was blown away with what I saw. Who does Athlon Sports think has the best defensive line in college football? Your Texas Longhorns. Who does Athlon Sports believe has the best linebacker room in college football? Your Texas Longhorns. Who does Athlon Sports think has the best secondary in college football? You guessed it, your Texas Longhorns. At all three levels of the defense, Athlon Sports believes that Texas is better than anybody in the country, not just in the conference, but in the entire country going into the 2025 season. Do you agree? Comment below with your thoughts. Let's break things down first, and we'll go in order, starting up front with the Texas defensive line. Do the Longhorns have the best D-line in America? And in Athlon's case, D-line includes edge rushers too. So those guys are all put together as defensive linemen. So you look at the pros with Texas's overall defensive line room. You got Colin Simmons, the reigning Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year, a guy who I think will be a preseason All-SEC player, and a guy who has a chance to be an All-American in only his second year of college football. You've got Trey Moore back for another season. He turned it on in the latter half of 2024. He looked great. Ethan Burke is back for his senior year. Colton Vasek is back for another season. That edge room is loaded with talent and experience. That helps on the defensive line. And then you look at what Texas did on the inside, about 5 portal acquisitions. All 5 of those guys have Power 4 experience. And a lot of those guys are upperclassmen who have played multiple years of P4 college football. So it's not, taking a chance on random FCS dude. It's not taking a chance on 18-year-old who didn't quite pan out at his first school, and you're hoping he can figure things out in Austin. No, all of these guys have legit Power 4 experience. And again, most of them have played multiple years in college. Also, Kenny Baker. I know he's only been the D-line coach for 1 year, but with what he did in 2024 with Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton and everybody else, I think he fits in the pro category for the Texas D-line. And we spent a lot of time talking about Alan Clark lately, the new edge coach that Texas stole from Ohio State. I think he is a pro as well. So that's the good for the Texas D-line. That's the argument for that group being the best in America. Here are the cons. Again, 5 portal additions. You needed those 5 because you lost 7 scholarship D linemen from a year ago. And I'm only talking about the inside guys, right? Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, they went pro. Bill Norton signed a UDFA deal. He also went pro. 4 others hit the portal to go elsewhere. You lost Barron Sorrell off the edge, too. That guy was a fourth-round pick to the Green Bay Packers. So you've got a lot of new faces, and you're having to replace some really, really impactful pieces on your defensive front. The question is, do the pros outweigh the cons? Look, I think Texas's edge room might be the best in America. I really do. Again, talent, experience, depth, it checks every box. I have more doubts about the inside, but I think, most of those doubts are just because I haven't seen these guys play at Texas. And even though they have Power 4 experience, none of these guys are coming from the SEC, and 4 of the 5 are coming from the ACC, which, is not as good as the SEC. I don't think I'm breaking any news to anybody there. So I'm curious, I don't think you have that game record. I don't think you have a top 2-round draft pick like you've had in each of the last 2 years. Hell, in 2023, you had 2 with T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. Last year, you had Collins in round 2, then Vernon Broughton in round 3. I don't know if you have that guy on the inside, but the rotational depth that the Horns have is pretty good. Texas belongs in the top 10. Again, Athlon Sports ranked 1 through 10. I don't know if I'd put Texas at number 1. My big question is, can Texas get that same production that it got from last year's D-line despite losing 3 draft picks? Look, they repeated the success in 2024. I had some doubts. Once they lost Sweat and Murphy, I wasn't sure what the defensive front was going to look like. They proved me wrong. They proved every doubter wrong, and they were really good. We'll see if they can do it again. So, number 1, maybe a bit high, but high praise from Athlon Sports. On to linebackers. This is where I completely agree with Athlon. I think Texas has the best linebacking room in the sport. Ant Hill is a first-team All-American caliber player. Athlon, as a matter of fact, has him on their preseason first-team All-American. They won't be alone. A lot of praise will be coming Ant Hill's way over these next couple of months. I think more praise will be coming his way once we get to the actual season as well. Going into his 3rd year with the program, going into his 2nd year playing that traditional linebacker position. He was great in year 1. I expect him to take a big leap in year 2, which is scary hours for everybody else. You've got Leonga Lafau back. So your 2 starters from last year at linebacker do return. Lafau didn't start last season as the starter, but replaced David Benda, the 6th-year guy, as the year progressed. Obviously, Benda's gone. He was great. He still played a lot last year, but Leonga Lafau did enough as a true sophomore to earn the coach's trust and get that extra playing time. Again, another guy in his 3rd year with the program, going into his 2nd year as the starter. You brought in Brad Spence from Arkansas. He was their 3rd leading tackler last year. He's got SEC experience. Trey Moore has been getting some run at linebacker. Loved what I saw from Ty Anthony Smith as a true freshman. He played a good amount and showed some flashes of potential. So, again, great linebacking room. You've got a 1st-round pick at the top with Ant Hill. You've got experience with both starters returning, both of those guys going into their 3rd years. You've got depth. You've got great coaching with Johnny Nansen and Pete Kwiatkowski, who's the DC, but also the outside linebackers coach. Technically, he works with everybody, but I love that group, and I think that belongs at the very top. On to the secondary. Again, Athlon Sports says Texas has the best defensive backfield in the nation. This is another one where, look, I think Texas absolutely belongs in the top 10. I think they absolutely belong in the top 5. The question is, should they be number 1, even though they lost the Thorpe Award winner and Jahdae Barron and Andrew Makuba, who was amazing in his 1 year on the 40 acres. You look at pros and cons. Getting Michael Taft back, there's your All-American caliber player going into his 5th year. Manny Muhammad, you're seeing mock drafts for 2026. His name is showing up a lot as a 1st-round pick for next year. That means something. Dwayne Aquina back as your secondaries coach. That means something. That's one of the most well-respected defensive minds in college football. Every Texas fan knows what the Texas secondary is capable of being when coached by Dwayne Aquina. Jalen Gilbo's a senior. Jelani McDonald's an upperclassman. Derek Williams Jr. coming off of an injury, but he's going into his 3rd year. And you've got tons of 4 and 5 stars waiting in the wing. Texas has recruited well everywhere. They've really crushed it when it comes to defensive back recruiting in the Sark era. So I've got faith that that's going to be a great unit. The cons, the question marks, look, for as much as I love Dwayne Aquina, Texas is still replacing both secondary coaches from a year ago. Mark Orfe comes into the fold as well. Obviously, Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon are moving on. You're replacing those 2 studs with Jahdae Barron and Andrew Makuba, a 1st and 2nd-round pick, respectively. And you don't have a ton of proven talent with your 2nd unit. You're starting 5, if you will. 2 outside corners, your star, your 2 safeties. Those guys are experienced. Those guys are legit. You know what you got with them. After that, again, you've recruited well. You think you've got great coaching. You're not entirely sure what those guys are going to do in big games. They played a lot in mop-up duty last year, but the Kobe Blacks, the Xavier Filsames, Jonah Williams, a freshman, Jordan Johnson, Rebel. There's plenty of names, again, plenty of talent, but how good are those guys? Wardell Mack, I'll throw him in. I'm leaving out a couple of names unintentionally, but if those guys stay healthy and the younger guys can take a step, Texas can absolutely be in the discussion for the best secondary in America. I've got to see it first to put it at number one. But look, the point of this segment was not for me to give my doubts and not for me to have my UTSD flare up right now. The point is to tell you that a national publication with zero ties to the University of Texas says that the Longhorns the best defense in college football. And that's awesome because it needs to be good, especially early when you're breaking in a new quarterback and 8 new starters on the offensive side of the ball. There could be some growing pains, especially in week 1. I don't think Texas is going to be putting up 40 plus on the road at the shoe. It's going to be a low-scoring, ugly type of game. You need the Longhorn defense to step up and make some plays, going up against a first-year starting quarterback in Julian Sayin. Texas needs a lot from its defense, but if the Longhorns truly do have the best D-line, best linebacking room, and best secondary in 2025, there's a very good chance that the Longhorns are bringing a national title back to Austin in January. Yeah, they play that game in January. So there you go. We'll take your thoughts. Do you agree with Athlon Sports? Do you agree with me? How confident are you in the D-line, the linebackers, and the secondary for Texas in 2025? All right, let's have some fun here. A fun exercise for a Tuesday show. How about the Mount Rushmore of Texas players in the Steve Sarkisian era? Plenty of people have done this with all-time Longhorns, but we're focused on Sark's tenure in Austin for the sake of this next segment, and we will do that coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Game Time. Looking for last-minute tickets. Maybe you want to go to the NBA Finals game. Maybe you want to go to the Stanley Cup final game tonight. Maybe you're not close to either of those cities where these games are being played. Doesn't matter what sporting event you want to go to. Doesn't matter what concert you want to see. Doesn't matter what festival you want to see. Game Time has you covered. They are the best place to buy tickets in the market because they have taken all of the stress and all of the guesswork out of purchasing tickets. No hidden fees. They show you the exact view you are going to get from your seat. I'm talking a panoramic view, so you know exactly what you are going to be seeing if you buy those tickets. And they've got the Game Time price guarantee as well. So you're going to find the best deal, and you're going to know exactly what you are getting every time you use Game Time. I'm telling you, they have changed the game when it comes to buying tickets. All you have to do is download that Game Time app and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. It's just that easy. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and you will get $20 off from our friends at Game Time. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. I saw somebody else do this, and I wanted to take a crack at it, and I wanted y'all to have your opinions heard on this subject as well. Who is on the Mount Rushmore of Texas football players in the Steve Sarkisian era? Not all time. We're not talking VY or Ricky or Earl. No, we're just talking about the Steve Sarkisian era, so going back to 2021. Who are the 4 best, most important, most influential players, the guys who have been instrumental to turning this program around over these last few seasons. Again, I definitely want to get y'all's responses to this too, so comment below if you're watching on YouTube. This was not easy for me. I spent way too much time putting this list of 4 together because there are a lot of names who deserve to be in consideration, and we'll get to some honorable mentions at the end. But here are my 4 in no particular order, because I know the Mount Rushmore's in a certain order, but I don't think it's like, here's guy number 1, here's guy number 2. It's 4. So no particular order for the sake of this exercise. If I'm wrong, well, I'm not a history guy, so don't get too mad at me. All right, number 1, Bejan Robinson. Maybe a controversial pick because he was only here for 2 years of the 4 that we've had in the Steve Sarkisian era. A Tom Herman recruit, a guy who spent his first year with Tom Herman. Funny enough, Tom Herman probably would have kept his job if He played Bejan more. That's how good this dude was. And we're seeing it on Sundays with the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Bejan Robinson is the most talented player in the Steve Sarkisian era. And he's the most talented player that Texas has had since, honestly, I don't know. You got to go back a ways. This dude's just a freak. 5-star recruit out of high school, the number 1 running back recruit out of high school, a top 10 pick as a running back in, what was it, 2023 when he went pro. That doesn't happen often with a guy at that position in today's NFL. I mean, this guy, I don't have to tell y'all, if you watch Bejan play, you know exactly the type of player that he was. You look at his numbers during the Steve Sarkisian era in 2021, Sark's first year, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. A bright spot. There weren't a lot of bright spots in that 5-7 season. Bejan was one of the very few that Texas had. And then, of course, 2022, when Texas started really trending in the right direction, Bejan won the Doak Walker Award as the top running back in the nation. Nearly 1,600 yards and 18 touchdowns on the ground. Also had a few receiving touchdowns as well. Big-time threat through the air. It was a huge win for Texas in recruiting. It was huge that Bejan stayed for Steve Sarkisian. And yeah, just that type of talent, he's got to be on the list. You win an award like the Doak Walker, you have entered the conversation, no question. So Bejan's number 1. Number 2, again, no particular order. Kelvin Banks Jr., one of the biggest early recruiting wins for Steve Sarkisian in that 22 class. Top 10 player nationally, the top offensive tackle in the class, a guy who at one point was committed to Oregon. Thank you, Mario Cristobal, for leaving to take the Miami job. Ends up with Texas getting Kelvin Banks. Also, shout out to the Pancake Factory. That didn't hurt. Kelvin Banks lived up to the billing. 3-year starter at left tackle, 42 starts, only missed 1 game in the entirety of his Texas career. Just an anchor at a very premium position. Of course, last year he was named the Lombardi Trophy Award winner, also the Outland Award winner. First unanimous offensive lineman All-American at Texas since Justin Blaylock in 2006. Just a monster, a guy who meant so much to the program, an easy kid to root for. Just got selected by the Saints with the 9th pick in the draft. Like the total package. Great culture guy, great team leader, great player. Even though he played left tackle, not the sexiest position, Kelvin Banks Jr. absolutely has earned a spot on the Mount Rushmore of the Sark era. Moving on, number 3. Quinn Ewers. It's got to be there. Probably should have led with Quinn Ewers, right? The quarterback who led Texas to the first conference championship since 2009, the quarterback who led Texas to the college football playoff for the first 2 times in school history, the quarterback who led Texas to its only 2 college football playoff wins. Big time pickup. Obviously a rocky first year in 2022, some ups, some serious downs in his first season, but was incredible in 2023. 2024, he didn't quite take the step we wanted him to have, but still a very good year and a very big piece of the puzzle that allowed Texas to get to back-to-back college football playoff semifinals. I mean, the quarterback's the most important position on the field. Quinn Ewers was a huge part of turning things around at Texas. 27-9 as a starter. The best quarterback the Horns have had since Colt McCoy. I love Sam Ehlinger, no disrespect. The best quarterback that Texas has had since Colt McCoy. And I don't think there's any debate that Quinn Ewers belongs here. The value that he had with all of the turbulence that the Horns had at that QB position in the 12 years of suck, Quinn Ewers being a pretty stabilizing force for 3 seasons, much, much appreciated. So he's number 3. The last one was tough. Again, a lot of guys worthy of being in this conversation. We will get to a worthy in a moment, but I went with Jahdae Barron, number 4. Jahdae Barron, a guy who's been here for the entirety of the Steve Sarkisian era, obviously gone now, but a Central Texas kid who was a 3-star out of high school, developed into one of the best players in college football, obviously won the Thorpe Award this past season, instrumental to the Horns secondary turnaround when they were one of the worst pass defenses in America in 2023. They were one of the best this past season. Jahdae Barron, a huge part of that. Super versatile player, a super selfless player, a guy who was willing to literally line up anywhere on the defense, and he made things happen, right? A defensive coordinator's dream. Put him at safety, put him on the outside, put him at nickel, put him in the box. It doesn't matter. He's going to make stuff happen. Great team guy, big culture guy. He, Kelvin Banks, and Quinn Ewers were Texas's representatives at SEC Media Days last year. That goes to show you the type of leadership that Jahdae Barron had. Just a great head on his shoulders, but more importantly, for the sake of this exercise, a great player, All-American, first-round pick as a slot corner. Not easy to do. Jahdae Barron got my fourth and final spot on the Mount Rushmore of Texas players under Steve Sarkisian. Honorable mentions. You tell me if I missed anybody in this category. You tell me if I should have flip-flopped somebody who I left out for one of the four guys we've talked about. Xavier Worthy's on that list. Speaking of big recruiting pickups for Sark, one of the few bright spots for Texas in 2021. Great career at Texas, first-round draft pick. T'Vondre Sweat's on there. Fan favorite, defensive player of the year in the Big 12 in 2023. Michael Taft. I think if we did this exercise next year at this time, Michael Taft's probably one of the four. He was close, no cigar for him. Jake Majors, maybe. Jordan Whittington was another guy that I wrote down. I feel pretty good about my final four. But, those are the honorable mentions. Worthy, Sweat, Michael Taft, maybe Jake Majors, maybe Jordan Whittington. Those guys didn't quite have the individual accolades as some of the four on the list. But, again, culture guys, team guys, fan favorites, guys who meant a ton to Texas and guys who helped get this thing back where we all want it to be. You could make a case for a number of Longhorns there. So comment below with your thoughts. Did I get my list right? Did I get it wrong? Who would be on your Mount Rushmore for Steve Sarkisian? All right, one segment left on a Tuesday show. Another day, another portal pickup for Jim Schlossnagle and Texas baseball. Plus, we've got to talk about the picture of Arch Manning that has gone viral this week. And we'll do that next right here on Locked On Longhorns. Back here on Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Texas baseball has landed yet another player from the transfer portal. We talked about two that the Horns picked up over the weekend on yesterday's show. Now we've got another one to talk about on today's show. As the Longhorns land their first pitcher of the offseason, left-hander Luke Dodson coming over from Mississippi State. He was a bullpen guy for the Bulldogs this past year. 18 appearances through 23 and a third innings, and he had an ERA of 3.09. So some pretty good numbers. Texas saw him once. Remember, the Longhorns opened up SEC play in Stark Vegas, a 3-game sweep for Texas. Dodson pitched in one of those games out of the pen, 1 2/3 scoreless, had 3 strikeouts. So Schloss and Max Wiener got to see him firsthand. They liked what they saw. And this guy was pretty highly touted coming out of high school. I think he was a top 160 player in the class of 2023. Think about how many college baseball players there are, how many high school baseball players there are every year that go into college. That's pretty damn good. Struggled a bit as a freshman in 2024, but much better this season. Has some control issues. He walked 12 guys again in 23 innings, had 5 wild pitches as well, but the stuff is great. Fastball can hit 95, 96. He's got a very good changeup as well. Good strikeout guy. He was the 51st ranked player in the portal this cycle. So, again, I trust Max Wiener. I trust Jim Schlossnagle. They've got a good gauge of talent, but you get a guy who has pitched in the SEC, and again, an ERA of 3.09 in 18 appearances in the best conference in the sport. That will play, and you get to mix him in with Max Wiener and the great job that he does. Hopefully Wiener can help with some of those control issues. For the most part this year, Texas was great at throwing strikes. Things kind of faltered down the stretch. Everything else kind of faltered down the stretch for the Longhorns too. But, pound the zone is a big MO for Max Wiener. So hopefully, again, one of the best pitching coaches in America can unlock the most from Luke Dodson. I like this pickup for Texas. It's the 4th portal edition of the offseason. Once again, the first pitcher that Texas has added. All right, last but not least, we've got, I'm sure you all have seen this by now, but we haven't talked about it yet on Locked On. This Arch Manning picture that has gone viral. You see it was posted to Instagram with the caption, "Cuz brought Arch Manning on Greer Avenue." Greer Avenue is in the northern part of St. Louis. You're like, what is Arch Manning doing in the northern part of St. Louis? Well, Arch was at a football camp that his teammate Ryan Wingo was hosting. Ryan Wingo from St. Louis, of course. And, Arch Manning, Colin Simmons, DeAndre Moore, and Aaron Butler all accompanied Ryan Wingo to St. Louis for this camp. And I guess Ryan Wingo was taking Arch, to the area that he grew up in and around the city. And this has gone viral. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, Arch in the trenches. Who brought Arch to the projects? What's he doing out there? Hey, I love this. I love seeing Arch mixing it up with the people of St. Louis. But I really love this because it's another sign of Texas's culture being in a phenomenal spot. Like, this wasn't a camp in Round Rock or Georgetown or even Dallas or Houston. Like, these guys went over 1,000 miles across multiple states to be there for their teammate. That's not the sign of a great culture. I don't know what is. This wasn't one player, and it wasn't just like wide receivers that went with wide receiver Ryan Wingo. You had the quarterback, you had a couple of receivers, and you had your All-American defensive lineman go as well. They didn't have to be there. They wanted to be there. And some of these camps, man, that are run by pro and college athletes, like, they don't really care. They're just trying to get some money from moms and kids. Guys, like, some guys just show up. They look hungover, or maybe they're still drunk from the night before. They're literally just there for like 2 hours, and then they get back on a plane or get back in their car and head home. For these guys to make that trip across multiple states, to go over 1,000 miles, like, that's huge. Just to help a teammate and give the kids on hand an experience that they'll never forget. Like, that's a big deal, man. Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but I really like seeing this for Texas. I mean, the franchise quarterback, right? Arch Manning, who gets NIL deal after NIL deal. He could get a paid appearance anytime he wants. For him to go support his teammate and Ryan Wingo in St. Louis, and North St. Louis, not the safest part in the world. For him to go around there, that's big time stuff right there. That's what you want from your quote unquote franchise quarterback. Arch has talked about it a lot. Sark has talked about it a lot regarding Arch. They're working on that leadership. Now, I think Arch is a natural leader. I think everybody agrees with that. But this is one of those things that you do to get everybody rallied around you, right? You travel to your teammates' camps. Ryan Wingo could be the number one receiver on this team. You talk about building chemistry. You talk about making sure the rapport is there between QB1 and wide receiver 1. Hey, doing stuff like this is big time. Shout out to Arch, but also to Aaron Butler and to Colin Simmons and to DeAndre Moore, and of course to Ryan Wingo for hosting this event in the first place. All those dudes deserve some love. But Arch in the trenches. Some of the replies on social media have been pretty hilarious throughout the course of the week. But again, I love to see it. I think we all love to see it. Good sign with the culture for Texas Longhorn football. And I love it if you've made it this far. If you have, thank you very much. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, rate 5 stars, all of those great things. We really do appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal news, entries, signings. He's also talking plenty of recruiting right now. So if you're a recruiting junkie, or if you just want to be the most informed college football fan wherever you are, find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll talk more Texas recruiting tomorrow, plenty more Texas football conversation. And who knows, with the way things are going with Longhorn baseball, we might have another commit to talk about as well. Never a dull moment on the 40 acres, and we've got you covered here on Locked On Longhorns. But that's going to do it for today's show. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.